Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest edition, Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called The Anomalous Truth of Humanity, written by Shadeskira. In the great hall of the Galactic Assembly, where starlight filtered through the crystalline walls, and the whispers of 1,000 worlds wove the sympathy of diplomacy, the arrival of humanity had been an anomaly. No guardian entity had introduced them, no divine patron spoke for them, and yet they came, scarred, resilient, and offering friendship with hands forged in both creation and destruction. For centuries, the Assembly had observed humanity with fascination. Earth, their home, was a death world by every metric. Tectonic upheavals, volatile weather, predators that stalked with deadly efficiency, and pathogens that evolved faster than defenses could be built. And yet, humanity thrived. They built civilizations atop the ruins of their predecessor, rose from the ashes of self-inflicted wars, and reached the stars not with divine guidance, but through stubborn ingenuity. The Zothran, however, saw none of this as a strength. Forged by a god of conquest, the Zothran were a race bred for domination. Their guardian, the warlord eternal, had gifted them with the tools of subjugation, and they saw humanity's lack of guiding deity as a fatal weakness. To them, humanity was a species ripe for conquest. Their open arms seemed an invitation for chains. So they declared war. The Galactic Assembly watched in muted horror. Humanity had come to the stars, preaching unity and peace, but they were ill-equipped for a war against a species so practiced in conquest. The Zothran fleets advanced, their weapons bristling with divine blessings and technological superiority, and human colonies began to fall, one by one. It was then, at humanity's darkest hour, that their ambassador stood before the Assembly. Her name was Myra Solus, a diplomat who had charmed even the most xenophobic species with her wit and warmth. But today, her face was pale, her voice steel-edged as she addressed the gathered delegates. We have asked for peace, we have pleaded for reason, and now we call upon our oldest opponent. A ripple of confusion swept through the Assembly. Opponent? Humanity had no guardian. Myra raised her hands, and her voice became a shout that echoed across the chamber. Come, death! Humanity calls upon you. For a moment, there was silence. Then the lights dimmed, and the air grew heavy with an ancient primal presence. Shadows coalesced in the center of the chamber, taking form. A tall, cloaked figure with eyes like twin black holes, a scythe resting against her shoulder. Death. She was beautiful and terrifying, her voice a melody of ruin as she laughed, a sound that chilled even the Zothran emissary to his core. The great hall fell silent as death loomed over the Assembly, her presence suffocating the electric. But instead of addressing the galaxy's collective awe, her black hole gaze turned to Myra Solus, the human ambassador. Well, well, Death began, her voice laced with a kind of sardonic affection. Look who finally called me. I was beginning to think that you'd forgotten me entirely. Myra crossed her arms, meeting Death's gaze without flinching, though there was a steelness in her posture. Oh, don't flatter yourself, we've been a little busy, surviving all the fun that you've thrown our way. Fun? Death let out a delighted laugh that sent shivers through the Assembly. Oh, is that what you call it? Tell me, Myra, did you enjoy the Ice Ages? Those were my personal favorites. Watching your kind huddled in caves, fighting over scraps of meat. Truly, a masterpiece. Myra arched an eyebrow. Oh, you mean the Ice Ages where we learned to tame fire, develop tools, and paint the first images of our dreams on cave walls. The ones that forced us to cooperate and invent. Yes, thanks for that. Without those, we might never have discovered art or the scientific method. Death smirked, clearly amused. Fine. But what about the Black Death? That was one of my finest works, a little pestilence to weed out the weak and complacent. Myra leaned forward, her tone sharp. Ah, yes, the plague. You know, that's the one where we figured out quarantine, public health systems, and eventually germ theory. We even built whole medical disciplines around stopping you in your tracks. Sure, millions died, but the survivors became stronger, smarter, and more connected. You're really not very good at this, are you? The assembly delegates exchanged uneasy glances. It was like watching a child tease a star about its brightness. Death rolled her eyes, though the smirk on her face remained. Oh, please, don't pretend that you were doing so well. 2 world wars, nuclear weapons. You barely made it out of your last century alive. Myra's eyes narrowed, and her voice softened to a dangerous edge. You mean the wars that spurred us to build international alliances, codify human rights, and map the stars? The ones that gave us the technologies we're using right now to address this assembly. Face it, you've thrown your worst at us, and all you've done is make us stronger. Death tilted her head, as if genuinely considering Myra's words. Then she chuckled, a low rumbling sound that seemed to echo from the void itself. Oh, Myra, you're delightful. Do you know how many species I've broken? Countless. How many gave up the moment they faced extinction? Almost all of them. But you, she pointed a bony finger at Myra, you keep getting up. I hurl asteroids, unleash plagues, stir wars. And yet here you are, standing before me, daring to sass me in front of the galaxy. That's humanity for you, Myra said with a wry smile. Stubborn as hell and twice as resourceful. You may have been our opponent, Death, but you've also been our greatest teacher. Every time you tried to break us, we learned how to bend instead. Death leaned closer, her dark eyes gleaming with something like pride, or perhaps hunger. Teacher, you say? I like that. But let's not forget, my dear, that you've never truly beaten me. Every one of your kind will meet me eventually. No one escapes. Myra's smile didn't falter. True, but you've never beaten all of us at once, have you? And now, when someone else thinks they can finish what you started, you're the first to stand beside us. Death straightened, her cloak billowing, as though caught in an invisible storm. Oh, make no mistake, Myra. I'm not doing this out of charity. I just can't resist a challenge. These Zothran think they can do what I couldn't in millennia. It's laughable. Myra shrugged. We're used to it. A lot of people underestimate us. They think peace is weakness. But you know better, don't you? You've seen us at our worst and our best. For a moment, Death seemed to soften, her voice carrying a rare note of fondness. Indeed, I have. And as much as you frustrate me, I'll admit this. I wouldn't have it any other way. The Zothran emissary, who had been frozen in shock, finally found his voice, trembling as he spoke. This is madness. You claim to be their enemy, and yet you call them your children. Death turned to him, her groan sharpening into something terrifying. Madness? No, little Zothran. This is humanity, and if you truly believe that you can destroy them, you're welcome to try. But know this, every weapon you use, every strategy you deploy, will only make them stronger, because I've spent eons trying to kill them, and all I've done is prepare them for you. Myra's voice rang out, steady and confident. The Zothran wanted war. Now they have it. And as always, humanity will rise, adapt, and overcome, because death is our oldest adversary and our oldest ally. Death laughed again, a sound like the tolling of 1,000 bells. Well said, Myra. Now let's see what your galaxy's newest challenges have to offer. I could use some entertainment. And with that, Death's shadow loomed over the assembly, a silent reminder that while she may have been humanity's greatest foe, she was also their greatest testament to survival. The Zothran had declared war on a species forged in fire and tempered by death itself. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. End of story. Story number 2, Terran Inspectors, written by averagecakeenjoyer. The inspector's coming. The words boomed through the station's intercom, followed by an unmistakable sound of Officer Chen choking on his coffee. For a moment, there was perfect silence. Then, chaos. The control room erupted into frenzied activity. Engineers dove for toolboxes, desperately concealing anything that looked remotely non-regulation. Lieutenant Walsh was spotted trying to jam rolls of duct tape into a paper shredder, rather than explain why it was holding together a control panel. The alien crew members froze in place, blindsided by the sudden panic in their human co-workers. "Sir, what's happened?" one of the aliens began to ask, but was cut off by Captain Rodriguez, who shot out his chair and bolted past him. "Hide the duct tape, all of it!" Captain Rodriguez bellowed, already sprinting down the corridor. "And someone get rid of the WD-40! In Maintenance Bay 1, Chief Martinez stared in absolute horror as the 10-foot stack of cargo crates they'd been using as an impromptu ladder. Oh God, where's the actual ladder? We traded it to those Lifen merchants for coffee beans last month." "What? Who approved of that?" "You did. You said, and I quote, 'Ladders. For what? We've got perfectly good crates.'" "Fuck!" The alien staff watched in confusion as their human colleagues ran around like headless chickens. "I don't understand." Zyle, a junior electrician, cricked their mandibles nervously. "Your species invented these safety protocols. Why are you panicking?" "Because we know exactly how bad it is," Martinez shrieked, grabbing Zyle by the shoulders. "We made the rules because we know all the horrible ways we'll break them." Sylphine, another engineer, flicked their frilled ears in curiosity. "But surely, if you follow these rules, there is no reason to fear the Inspector, correct?" The humans stopped mid-meltdown, just long enough to exchange deeply haunting looks before resuming their desperate cover-up. "Oh God!" Thompson's face paled, having opened a cabinet to try and find a tarp to throw over the crates. "Where are all the hard hats?" "We lost them," Martinez shouted, now trying to hide a jar labeled "Misk Sharp Things" anywhere he could manage. "How do you manage to lose hard hats?" "Same way we lost the emergency eye wash station." "That wasn't lost, it got blown up." "Exactly." "Oh God, we're screwed," Thompson whimpered, dragging his hands down his face. "OSHA's gonna feck us 6 ways to Sunday." Zyle observed the chaos with a growing sense of unease. "Humans, what exactly happens if this OSHA being finds violations?" There was another moment of silence. Then Thompson whispered, "Paperwork." Zyle blinked. "Paperwork?" He shuddered voluntarily. "So much paperwork!" Martinez swayed slightly, leaning on a crate stack for support, the tower wobbling precariously. "Do you have any idea what it's like to spend 10 hours detailing why and how someone thought using a roll of tape to patch a spacesuit was a good idea?" "It said it was pressure sealing." "A mountain of paperwork, Tommy! A mountain!" The intercom crackled again. Rodriguez's voice had taken on a peculiar tone of someone watching their career dissolve in real time. "New problem. Why do I have someone telling me the oxygen generators are labeled with emoji stickers?" "Ah, shite!" Thompson muttered before keying his communicator. "The original labels kept peeling off." Sylphine and Zayril shared a horrific look as they watched this conversation happen. "Hear me out. It makes sense. Skull emoji means deadly, fire emoji means flammable, pizza emoji means... Why is there a pizza emoji on the oxygen system?" "Because that's where we've been storing the pizza. The fridge is full and the coolant keeps it fresh." Rodriguez let out a strangled noise somewhere between a sob and a scream, the sound cutting off as the intercom went silent again. Sylphine took a cautious step back. "So, to be clear, you fear not the enforcement of these regulations, but rather the paperwork that follows." "Yes, both, and I don't know." "Wouldn't it be more productive if you just, followed these regulations?" "What?" Thompson looked at Zyle as if they had just grown another head. "No! Are you crazy?" "Are you? They're there for your safety, aren't they?" The intercom crackled to life again, interrupting Sylphine mid-sentence. "Inspector's here," Rodriguez whispered, his voice deathly quiet. "What?" Martinez's eyes went wide as he shouted through the communicator. "Delay them or we're screwed!" Silence. "Hello, Rodriguez?" The bulkhead doors hissed open, and a single figure stepped inside. Inspector Eleanor Graves was a small, unassuming woman in a crisp uniform, a tablet tucked neatly under one arm. She adjusted her glasses and took a slow, measured look around the control room. Rodriguez was still bent over a microphone, screaming into it. Walsh hunched by the paper shredder, sweat on his brow. He clutched the rolls of tape like live grenades while, across the room, Chen fought to hide a spool of frayed wire in a cabinet. Typical, Graves cleared her throat. The chaos in the control room disappeared, everyone freezing in place mid-motion. Time looking like it had stopped. Rodriguez whispered something into the microphone before slowly turning around, a nervous smile on his face. Looking like he was about to throw up, he swallowed hard and stepped forward. Inspector Graves, he said, voice strained but polite. Welcome aboard. How was the trip? She tapped a note into her tablet. Captain Rodriguez, a pause. What's this I heard about pizza sticker on an oxygen generator? Rodriguez opened his mouth and closed it just as fast, the excuse he'd prepared dying on his lips. The fear got to Walsh first. The fridge was full. The silence that followed was deafening. Graves let out a long, slow sigh and scrolled down her tablet. You do realize this inspection will involve the full safety audit? Rodriguez flinched. Walsh whimpered. Chen made a tiny strangled noise. An alien crew member groaned loudly in the back. Not again! Graves observed them all, expression unreadable. Then, in a voice that promised nothing but bureaucratic suffering, she said, Let's begin, shall we? End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.